I hope none of you have any plans on visiting Haven Hills, Alabama, about the year 2050, because things are going to get pretty hairy. This is the Bros Watch Loki.
Yeah.
Welcome in for the first time, or the second time, if you're joining us here. Um, this episode was awesome. It gave me everything. We had some comedy. We had great dialogue from Tom Hiddleston. We had the great interactions with him and Owen Wilson. We had
Yep.
uh, we had suspense and a little bit of an oh shit moment at the end. So
Yeah.
where shall we begin?
Um, I don't know. Let's start at the start, I guess. We get another they started off with the attack, right? Isn't that what brought open the
Yeah, the
episode?
Renaissance Fair in Oshkosh, Wisconsin in
Yeah.
1985. Um,
Which is just that mix of things. It's such a good setting
it's just,
for
I mean,
this.
hey, why you guys aren't dressed right?
Yeah.
Okay, lady, relax.
Yeah. No, you never leave character.
Yeah, no, that was good, and we get, basically as soon as they were in there, I was like, it's definitely we're getting female Loki. I kind of,
Oh,
I was
okay.
like, we're getting female Loki. I don't know why, I just got that vibe as soon as they were in that tent, and I just
I
got the vibe
had
of female Loki.
I had an inkling. So there were two things that I thought. I was like, it actually comes later in the episode when they're talking about the different variants of Loki. And one, I was like, he's just gonna be straight frost giant, and then the other was it's gonna be like some other like gender or some like doesn't even resemble Loki in the
Right.
least.
So I'm not
Um,
I'm not very well versed in the Thor universe comic speaking, but I do know that there was at least several different iterations of Loki. Um, and then of course, Marvel came out and confirmed that Loki is indeed gender fluid, so you kind of got the feeling that this is where they were going. And then also when they go to send the team to go in after the attack, um, you know, they kind of say like, "Oh, we've been searching all these Loki variants," and they show, like monster Loki. They show a different version of like human Loki. Then there's someone
yeah.
with some kind of weird face and tusks
The
or something.
variants are wild. Like
Yeah.
when they said variant, they really meant variant.
And so, but anyways, going back to the attack in the tent, is the first time we really got to see kind of Loki's this, which on IMDb and the cast listing, they're still referring to her as the variant. So this is the
Okay.
first time we get a look at the variant's powers. She takes over C. Hold on, let me pull it up because I had it.
C20?
Yeah, nobody has any names in this, and so I believe it's yes, Hunter C20. Shout out
Yeah.
to Jessica
Well,
Jessica Hyde.
something that I forgot from the first episode is they actually gave Loki a last name, Laufeyson.
Well, Laufey, if you remember, that goes back to the first Thor.
Yeah, like was that the Frost Giant's name?
Yeah,
Like it should
Laufey
be, right?
Laufey was his biological father, so he
Yeah.
then
Okay.
becomes Laufey's son. And I've heard some other, watching some other review shows and podcasts and things where everybody was like, "Why are they calling him Laufey's son?" I was like, "Dude, that was like
Yeah. That
like the
was the first
first,
thing.
yeah, the first. What was Thor like the third or fourth movie in the MCU?
Yeah.
So
I
I mean, we're
mean, they
talking.
even
This
say like
is
Odinson.
yeah,
So
Odinson. It's the same deal. Laufey's son Odinson. It's the same thing.
yeah. And also just like that's the way that modern Norse names typically work too. So,
Right. Yeah. So
like in Scandinavian names largely.
yeah. So anyway, so C20 gets kind of, later in the episode, he calls an enchantment, taken over, whatever.
Yeah, that's the first time we've seen that from Loki, right? Like it was a very Scarlet Witch moment.
Yeah, and so she kind of helps the variant attack her friends and then passes out. Then the variant takes her and the reset charges,
Yeah.
and then we back in the TVA, you know,
This
you
is
know,
hilarious. This is so good to me. When he's just like sitting there talking with the clock lady. Her name is Miss Minutes,
right,
by the way.
right. That was a fantastic scene, and then he tries to whack her with the paper, and she
Yeah.
jumps back, and I'm like, "Hey, man," like
Like not cool.
it's so good. So that was so, God, that was so well done, and such a good moment there. But But yeah, I mean, you kind of like Loki's kind of getting the handle of things, you know, kind of doing his homework, if you will. Supposed to be doing these different trainings and reading up and stuff so he can go with them on TVA missions.
Yeah, and we get like he's very quick at learning and reading, like insanely fast, which I guess is expected from an Asgardian.
Well, I don't know if that's is it him being like a speed. Remember back in the like late '90s when all those speed read tutorials came out where they were like, you just go like this, and you can speed read.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it reminded me of. But I don't know. Is it really? Is he retaining all that, or is he just kind of
Later
scanning?
in the episode when he's
I mean,
talking
yeah,
with
he does.
Mobius,
Yeah.
I
Like
mean,
when they go,
he's clearly retaining it.
when they go
Because
back.
every time they ask him for a definition, he riddles off the actual definition. So
Right.
He's
Yeah, and he
retaining.
proves that kind of right after they go back to the fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we get him, and then Mobius comes in. He's like, "Why are you reading my jet ski magazine?" Which at first when he said it, I just kind of like whatever. That was just like a throwaway. It's like a throwaway line.
Yeah.
But but yeah, so we kind of get him, and he's kind of trying to, he's like learning, but he's kind of, you get the feeling he's like kind of setting everybody up, and then trying to convince him. I think one of my favorite things is like with him and I think it's B-15. That's just like the head lady that collared him in the first episode. I love that she just shits on him so much. It's so funny.
Yeah.
It's so
like
funny. It's so funny.
Mobius.
Yeah.
Mobius with the hand of his daggers, and she's like, "Absolutely not. Give me those."
Yeah, no, it's so good. But like she makes him turn around and show she's like, "Oh, show me the back of that jacket again."
Yeah.
And it's just like she's just like she clearly hates Loki, and I'm sure a lot of that has to do with when he popped the collar on her. And flash her back.
She may have dealt with previous.
Well, that too. Yeah, that too.
Well.
But it's so funny that she just craps on him so much. It's so funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we go back and they're kind of, like we kind of mentioned already, like they're trying to they go back to the medieval fair to investigate the attack, and this is a great piece of monologue from Tom Hiddleston here when he's kind of giving this old story, and you're like, oh, he plays the Loki well. Like the character of Loki, you're not supposed to know whether he's being honest or not at any time. And with Hiddleston, like he does it like so well, and you never know if this is gonna lead to something profound or if, like in this case, he was just basically stalling for time and.
Yeah.
And so
incredible acting, like you say. But I love that Mobius keeps calling him on it.
Yeah,
he's like researched Loki so well that he knows when he's lying.
Well, and he knows all the other Lokis.
Yeah,
and so he's just like, no, he's lying. You almost got me there, but you were lying.
You're stalling. You're always stalling.
Yeah. And so so then I thought it was a really cool piece of film where that kind of showed. We kind of got to see the reset charge in the first one, but not really. And then we got a full picture of how the reset charge, and it just looks really cool. It's really good graphics, and it just kind of, that kind of like a rainbowy light kind of washes over everything, and it's just really well done.
Yeah. I definitely appreciate that. The fact that like the whole feel of the series so far feels like every episode is a movie. Like they put as much time and money and effort into it as a full-length movie. Just really great. It makes a huge difference in the quality.
Sure.
And especially since it's Disney and Marvel, they can just throw money at a problem and it's gonna work.
Right. Yeah. And I think the other thing too is, like now we get to see a little more of the TVA when they go back. So when they go back now. To kind of figure out what the next step is, we get to see a little more of the TVA. We get to see, what's her name, Ravonna. She's the judge, right? So she's kind of like in charge of Mobius and his group, and they call him an analyst. So I guess the Mobius people are called analysts, the head detectives, if you will. And so she's kind of in charge of the detective.
No.
What?
Oh no.
All right, back on track. I don't know, where were we? So we're back in the TVA.
You're talking about
we're seeing more. And
at some point, like the library section.
Right, and the library, Loki in the library, like you had to know. I mean, like,
Yeah.
he's the god of mischief. He can't be in a library. I mean, what are we doing? Like, what are we talking about here?
Yeah, he gets
Uh,
shushed and then he turns around and shushes the lady. Like,
yeah, and then he goes up to the desk. I love this part because as soon as he asked her, like, oh, now you're froze.
uh,
Oh, now you're back up. You just fast forwarded there. Um,
okay, yeah. I
anyway,
think I'm
I
still
don't.
having some issues.
All hell's breaking loose today. Who knows? We'll see what makes it in and what doesn't. But okay. Oh yeah, so he goes up to the front desk lady, the head librarian, to like get some files, and I knew as soon as I saw her sitting there, I was like, he's gonna have to like ring a bell or do something, and then sure enough, like he had to ring the
Yeah.
bell, and she acknowledged him, and it's funny. They kept asking, like he kept asking all the what cases can I have basically, right? Like nothing. He couldn't get any files.
Well,
Uh,
he really wanted to find out about that TVA because it's a
yeah,
mystery right now.
right. He wanted to find out about the timekeepers and you know, all that stuff. And so they basically only give him his own file, like things that he was involved with, is kind of what I got. And so he's going through it and he sees the paper with the event write up from Ragnarok of the destruction of Asgard. And, it's a good piece of acting for him where he's kind of going through it. And I wanted to get your take on this because obviously, like, that was the piece where he figures out how to find the variant. And I rewound it several times to look at the paper he's looking at, and I still cannot figure out. So it's got like the amount of people that were killed,
Yeah, there's like 9,000
right,
something.
a slight detail, which only 9,000 Asgardians living on that place. I mean, what are we doing?
I
Anyway,
know, right? Like,
but the best I could see is that there's the part where it says like time displaced, and it's like a very small amount. It's like like two. I guess it would be maybe 2 seconds or 2 minutes. That had to be what gave it away, but I couldn't find anything else. Rewinding that scene a few times, I couldn't see anything else other than the time displacement that would have led him to understand, like, oh, this is what the variant is doing.
so it's because it says no variance energy detected. So he knew like, okay, well, if it gets destroyed, then what you do right at that point doesn't really matter. So
But
you're not injecting anything else because it all gets destroyed.
no, but see, I don't think that's because
And then they went to test it.
I took it to mean like it was supposed to happen. Ragnarok was supposed to happen, right?
Yeah.
Even in their lore, it was supposed to happen. So that's why there was no variance because there was no variance that occurred there. You understand what I'm saying? I want to know what led him to think that the variant could jump in there and do whatever they wanted. Because I don't think that was it. I think it has to do something with that time displacement.
No, because of what I just said. Like everything gets blown up, so it doesn't matter. It's
But he wouldn't know that from it just saying there was no variance energy. You understand what I'm saying?
I think he would.
Like,
'Cause,
but if it was happening the way it was supposed to happen, right? If it was happening,
yeah, but if I leave an apple there and the apple gets obliterated by Surtur, it doesn't matter what. It doesn't matter if there's an apple there.
but how did
Nothing
he?
else is-
But how did he figure it out? How does he know it's not just happening the way exactly the way it's supposed to happen?
Because there was no variance energy. I think.
But that's what I'm saying.
You're making this too complicated.
No.
I think it's a lot more simple than what you're thinking.
I don't think it is.
It definitely is.
All right. Anyways, hopefully someone will leave us a comment or something and tell me I'm stupid. But so anyway, so he figures out he runs to Mobius. I thought it was great when he took Mobius's salad. Like, first of all, that's a really small ass salad to be eating only that for lunch. Like,
I know, right?
what are we doing here, TVA? But
Like a little cup.
right,
I have a
it was
theory
like a
on that. I
little.
have a theory.
Yeah, it's because the time moves slowly or whatever. But yeah, so that was kind of a really good scene. And then we get Casey pops up again, where he goes over and takes his juice box.
Yeah.
Poor Casey,
He's like,
man.
you again.
He's like, not you, man. But yeah, I just thought that was a great scene. Him and Owen Wells like superbly acted, like, and Mobius is throwing in all his little quips there, like. That's my lunch. Don't do that. No, okay, so the salt is the Hulk. Okay, like.
There's a lot of salt and pepper.
Right. Yeah. So, but I just thought that was a really cool scene, and it was kind of, I mean, I think he already understands what Loki's saying already, and he's just like letting him go through this whole spiel,
I mean, the salad was already ruined. Like,
Right.
he's not gonna
Right.
save the salad.
Very
You know?
very salty salad. But
All
what
right.
were yeah, what were you gonna say
So
about the food?
I have a theory, not just about the food, about the TVA itself, because, and I don't remember when this was in the episode, they say that the Timekeepers created the TVA and all the people in it. Loki, because Loki's questioning Mobius,
Right.
and he says, yes, that's what happened. Now, that to me says that they're not actually human, and that's why time moves differently in the TVA, because they aren't actually some sort of human.
I mean, I kind of assumed that already, that they're not human.
Yeah, because like you don't see any children, you don't see anyone that's overly
Yeah.
old,
They're
this like middle-aged area.
I just kind of assumed that they're like um the orcs from Lord of the Rings. They're made like there was a mold that they made them in, and
Yeah, and also the fact that when Mobius was talking with Ravana, uh, she was very very coy about the timekeepers, about like
right.
seeing them or talking to them. I think they're dead. I think they died a long time ago, and the TVA has just been carrying on doing this task without the timekeepers.
Yeah, I
That's my
mean,
theory.
there's definitely something fishy with the timekeepers.
Yeah.
Also, I know a lot of people online have pointed out that they think one of the timekeepers is Kang the Conqueror, which would be. But where would he be, in the greater MCU, camped out somewhere? Anyway, that's a whole other
Yeah.
discussion. I don't know enough about
Yeah.
Kang's backstory to be even to approach that. But I just that's the working theory is that Kang is at least one of the timekeepers. But yeah, I mean, I definitely like there's something with the timekeeper. Either they're not who they're portraying them to be, or like you said, they're not there anymore.
Yeah, like they
Um,
created this cult, and the cult is just doing cult things,
right. It
and
does kind of seem like that,
they
right?
died a long time ago.
Because even then, like even when Mobius and Loki have the conversation about like, and Loki's question him like you said about like how the TVA was created, and he goes like, okay, well, how were you created? Well, a frost giant. Well, okay, but then you were raised by Odin, like the god of
Yeah,
thunder, and like he's like, doesn't it seem a little
yeah.
crazy too? Like it's kind of like that same,
And
kind of
also, that's the first time they've even brought up Loki being a frost giant since Thor,
since
since like
Thor.
the
Yeah,
original
right.
movie. They
Yeah.
like haven't even touched on that since then. And I was so happy that they finally remembered.
Yeah,
It's
they
like, oh
never
yeah,
they
he's
never
a
mention it. Like through all the other MCU films after
yeah.
the first Thor, they never mention him being a frost giant.
He turns blue like once, and then that's it. And
Yeah,
like
when they
you
grab when
never
they
hear
grab
about
it,
it.
they grab him by the arm and he starts turning back into a frost giant. That was the last time we
Yeah.
seen it.
Yep.
Do we think that's gonna play in at some point? Because I think
I hope so.
I think it may. It's gonna factor in somehow, right? Like they
I mean, the
would.
series is called Loki. We have to see
Well, but
something, right?
they're kind of bringing it up a lot, mentioning it a lot, kind of almost like hey, hello, look here,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so but yeah, so then we get they figure out where the variant is, and it's in Alabama, Heaven Hills, Alabama, which is of course on
Yeah.
directly next to the Gulf of Mexico,
Yep.
and is owned by what was the name of the store? Is like a
A
Costco type
drop.
thing. It's like
Rocksmart.
Rocks Cart.
Roxkart. Yeah.
And so this company owns this town of Heaven Hills. I don't know if that was like a. I don't know if they put that much backstory into it for a reason because it was only like 2 lines of script that they said that.
Yeah.
But I did find it interesting nonetheless. And so then we, boom, down to Alabama, down on the Gulf, getting absolutely wrecked by a level 10 apocalypse event, whatever that means. This hurricane. And it was funny. I think they kind of set up the hurricane being so bad because when they were going through like the swallows dying off and the tsunami and all this and that, they were kind of it was all like climate change events, right? That were apocalyptic
Yeah.
apocalyptic
Yeah.
events here on Earth. So apparently we only got like 30 years left. So
Oh. It's
yeah.
that might be.
So I'm just saying, if Kevin Feige says we only got 30 years left, I trust him more
I
than
mean,
just about
he's been
anybody
right
else.
about
Yeah,
everything else.
he hasn't been wrong yet. So anyway, so we go to Rock's Cart, Costco, Sam's Club, BJ's Wholesale, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, and massive, huge like we expected it to be. I did think it was funny when B-15 was going through it. She's like, all right, it's a major, massive warehouse. It's got all kinds of aisles. It'll
Yeah.
be easy to get lost. Just I can get lost in a Costco for sure.
Yeah, definitely. When they get in there, the interesting part was the possession power that
Yes.
Loki has can like
Yes.
transfer.
But
Just kind of.
you know what this
Train
reminded
them.
me of? Great Denzel Washington film called Fallen.
Yes.
I
Yes.
was immediately like, yep, that's it. I've seen that before.
That's the same thing, except they had to die in that one, which is a little different. But
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah. But I was like, yeah.
God, that movie was actually no, they didn't because he on
No,
the
no,
street
no, no,
when
no.
he's
Yeah,
walking,
yeah.
he's
It's
like
transfer.
touching
Yeah, yeah,
people.
yeah. That's what he tried to
But
do.
yeah,
He tried to
time's
kill it.
on my side.
Right. He tried to kill
What
it.
a
He tried to kill
God,
it in the cabin by killing himself in the cabin. Right.
what a good movie.
So good. So good. John Goodman was in that too, wasn't he? I think so.
Yeah, yeah, he was like a serial killer or something.
Yeah, it's a really good film. Really great film. Anyways, back to Loki. But yeah, that was the first thing I thought of, and again, we're kind of getting to see. It's not quite Loki's power. It's in the same vein as Loki's power, but it's a different power, right? Like they said, all the variants had different little things they could do, and yeah, and so obviously, suckers in B-15 transfers into her. And that's when Loki's like, okay, yes, hello, how are you?
Yeah.
You're me, no, you're me. And they have this kind of back and forth.
Yep.
Um,
And my favorite part about this is she pulls the same damn trick on him as he was pulling earlier.
right. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and so we kind of go through the store, and they're having this dialogue the whole time. And, he thinks that he's like, convincing her to like join his side. And, of course and again,
Yeah.
this is still like Avengers 2012 Loki we're dealing with. Like, he's still kind of dumb, right? Like, he still thinks that he's the smartest guy in the room, and he definitely is not. And I think this conversation, he kind of starts to figure it out. Like, oh, wait a minute. Like,
Yeah. Like, wait.
yeah,
Oh, you've been stalling
right,
my
right,
own
right, right, right.
tricks.
Yeah. So, so that was great. And then we get a little fight. We get to see Loki fight a little bit. I thought it was cool when I guess it was a tire or whatever it was. He pulled off the shelf,
Yeah, I couldn't tell what that was.
kind of force pulled it off the shelf.
Yeah.
Got into it with whoever was possessed. Now they kind of went through 3 or 4 different people. And then we kind of he sees the reset charges.
Yeah.
And he sees them all kind of wired together, and he's like, you brought us all here to kill us all, right? No.
Nope.
There goes
Not
Loki.
exactly.
Loki again, being wrong, thinking he had it all figured out. And then we get the reveal of finally the variant. She reveals
Yeah.
herself,
Yeah.
which was sweet, obviously. Um, and I mean, I don't know. What's your take on her deal? Like, what do you think she's going after? Because I had one theory, and it's kind of changed a little bit after this episode.
My initial theory was that like Loki is trying to take the timekeepers down and restore the multiverse of madness, basically, to where free will does matter. Like things are splintering off left and right, and I think that's the issue. Is like the power. I want my power. I want my free will, and if I have to destroy part of the universe, then I'll do that.
But you're saying from
So,
Loki,
yeah.
from Loki.
Both of them. I mean,
Well,
'cause,
both
like
of-
they're. I think they're after the same goal. Our Loki just doesn't know it yet.
I think our Loki is very self-centered in his goal. Like he wants to be in control. He wants to prove that he's better, and he doesn't really. He just wants to get an audience with the timekeepers so he can, outsmart them, which is what the Mobius brought up earlier in the episode. Female Loki. At first, I thought, kind of like you said, the just taking out, killing the timekeepers because she wants to have that free will. She wants to, but
Or replace them.
I think there's something a little more sneaky. I think these reset charges have all been sent to certain points in time.
Could be. Yeah.
And there's gonna be something that not only like gets rid of the timekeepers, but also there's got to be something bigger in her advantage, right? Because that was a lot of reset charges she sent. They're not all they're not all going to the TVA, right?
Yeah. Well, we can see on the timeline that they were all sent to different places, and
Right,
maybe
and
it's
so-
to overwhelm their forces and get everyone working on this one problem, so she can go try to get to the timekeepers.
No, I think there's some kind of chain reaction she's trying to set off. Something that, for as much as she's jumped through history, she's figured out that there's some kind of chain reaction that she wants to create. I don't think it's just as simple as getting rid of the timekeepers. It can't be. You know, I don't think it's already the show is so involved in like so many different angles. I don't think it's going to be that simple.
Yeah. I mean, that's a totally valid theory. I don't have much in the way of concrete. It's just like this is based off of Loki the character, what is going on, what he would want.
Yeah. And well that wraps up the episode, but I just want to say shout out to Michael Waldron, who is the writer and creator of this Loki series.
Oh, fantastic.
And he's not only done a great job with this, but the guys over at My Mom's Basement did a great like 25-30 minute interview with him that they put up on their YouTube channel over at Barstool. Great interview with him, kind of going through the process of how, because they started writing this before like Endgame had come out. So they had to like sit him down in a private room and explain to him what was happening in Endgame and how Loki was still alive. Wow. And
that's also like the weight on your shoulders to not mess it up. Like,
well, he's also written the Multiverse of Madness for Doctor Strange. He's the writer on that. Not only is he the writer on that, he's doing Feige's Star Wars movie. So
yeah,
this guy
with Dave Filoni kind of like consulting.
Right? Yeah. I think well, Dave Filoni's like they gave him some like executive producer role now.
Good. He's been in charge of like everything that's been good in Star Wars lately.
Right. And so, but anyway, shout out to Michael Waldron because this show's fantastic and it makes me very pumped for Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, and it makes me even more excited for whatever Star Wars him and Feige are cooking up.
Agreed.
So,
my body is ready.
Yeah, I need a Star Wars movie to get back to being like really good, like you know.
Can we just say race 7, 8, and 9, man?
Well, I enjoyed Last Jedi because they were good because they took it in a different. See, this is the thing. Online, there's either people you either loved Last Jedi or you hated Last Jedi. I loved it.
No, I don't mind a different direction. That's fine. But everything in Last Jedi was it was like 20 different people had an idea. Like, it was like a fan collaboration.
All right, we're getting
in there.
We've already talked about this many times, but
all right.
Back to Loki. So yeah, so Loki's done. I think what do we? I mean, next episode, obviously, we're gonna figure out where these charges are going, right? Like.
Yeah. I mean, the TVA clearly has the people to handle them, but it'll like deplete their forces for a little bit.
Do they though? Because they were
Look at how big the thing is.
Yeah, but they were like freaking out.
Yeah, but like, look at how many trillions of people are in the TVA. Like, they clearly have enough.
Is there though? Like, how many people are trained specifically to go out and deal with these problems?
I don't know. Everybody works for the TVA. There's no like janitors or anything.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. Like, how many people do they have who are specifically trained to be in the field?
Do not know.
I guess that's where we'll leave it. We don't know. We don't know. All right, thanks for joining us. This has been the Bros Watch Loki, episode 2. Okay. This one was called The Variant, I believe.
Yeah.
Anyway. But yeah, join us back. We'll be back.
We need a catchy name for Fem Loki. We can work on that. We'll workshop it.
Floki.
Floki.
All
right.
Well, no, she says she doesn't want to be called Loki, so we got to come up with something else. She says she hates that name, so.
Oh yeah, I mean, Floki is not Loki, right?
Yeah.
Totally different. There's an F at the start.
But anyways, all right, guys. That's enough. We've rambled on enough about different
Yeah.
things. Yeah, join us back here next Wednesday. We'll be back. Episode will drop. We gotta talk to Disney about dropping these episodes at midnight Pacific time because
Yeah,
this is just
Wednesday.
give
What
me.
is?
Well, Wednesday's fine, but like midnight Pacific, like drop it at like I don't know, like The Expanse did. What were they dropping at like 8 o'clock every
Yeah, it was
Thursday
like
or
8
whatever?
p.m. on
Yeah.
Thursday. Yeah.
That way we could watch, we could record, get it up on YouTube. Everybody could watch and ask us questions. I whatever, whatever Disney. Anyway, all right, that's it. We're out. See you.
Wait. All right.